Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast for our final preview episode of the 2023 IPL. On this show, we'll be doing our predictions. We've got a snake draft planned where we'll be going mano el mano to see who knows the most about the IPL. And then we'll be doing questions and answers. We've got about 15 or so questions from Patreons and from Twitter. We'll try and get to some from the YouTube chat as well. I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Dan Weston, sporting a very fetching Punjab Kings shirt. How you doing, Dan?
I am good, mate. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Top left, we've got Ross Legg. He looks like a DJ, like a 90s DJ in that get-up. How you doing, Ross?
Namaste, India.
That's exactly.
90s DJ, I think he looks more like he's going on safari.
Yeah, I can see that as well. And Max Rowe-Brown in the abode formerly known as the Crack Den. How are you doing, Max?
Yeah, very good. Looking forward to some IPL fun. This is always a good laugh, isn't it?
It is a good laugh. I'm really looking forward to it. We're 2 days out from the tournament and things are really ratcheting up. Just a quick reminder, if you want to support the show, sign up as a Patreon. Patreon.com/thecricketpod for bonus content, shows, Discord chat, and some other little packages if you spend a bit more. Our running order, and we will point people in the direction of this as well. If you want some in-depth team analysis, our running order for that was decided by the Patreon. You can find the previous episodes on whatever feed you're listening on now or on YouTube. We've got each one in a 10 to 15 minute, 10 to 20 minute video. They're a lot of fun to make, and we've had some good interactions with that. I think it's been our most listened to pre-IPL build-up stuff. Okay, boys, are we ready for the show?
Bring it on.
Bring it on, says Ross.
Do it.
All right, what we're going to do, we've got 6 categories. We've got the biggest flop. We're going to go sort of from negative to positive. The biggest flop in terms of player. We've got the last place in terms of team. Top bowler. Top batter, decided by wickets and most runs. So no funny business there, Dan. Then we've got our 4 picks for the playoffs and the winner. The way this is going to work, we're going to do a draft. So you get to go. If you get to go first, we'll start with Max. You're above me, and we'll go anti-clockwise round back to me, and then we'll snake back. If you pick a team, nobody else can pick that team. If you pick a player, nobody else can pick that player, except for the playoff one. Which
I was going to say, it's going to make the playoffs a bit tough.
Yeah, and with the 11th pick, I've gone for the Lahore Qalandars. Okay, so the first category is, Max, it's flop, and this is in terms of player. Now, it's quite hard, I suppose. All the others, it's going to be very definitive, like you either made the playoffs or you didn't. This is subjective. So we'll ask our audience at the end of the tournament who the biggest flop was. And go with that call. You could pick anyone from the entire player pool. Biggest flop, Max Rowe-Brown.
Biggest flop. Well, there's a few things to consider, aren't there? But one of those things is that you need to be very expensive to be a really big flop. So I'm going to go Cameron Green. I'm going to go for the low-hanging fruit. Let's be honest. It's there for the taking. Why would I abuse going first without... What's the point?
No. That's, it's perfectly acceptable. It's perfectly acceptable to make that call. Ross, we're going to go through this bit quite quickly. If anyone wants to jump in with a talking point, but by all means. But he's gone with Cam Green. I think that's bold, personally. I think flop. He might underperform his price tag, but yeah, whatever. Ross, biggest flop. I think I have an inkling who you might go for.
You're definitely not going to see this coming. I promise you're going to see this coming. I think, actually, I'm staying with Mumbai. I think it's going to be Rohit Sharma. I think this is going to be the year where actually people really do see his decline as a T20 player. No one is doubting how good he's been in the history of Mumbai Indians, and leading to the promised land of 5 IPL titles. But I think this year he's going to struggle.
Fair. It's another pretty big call, but we've seen the age curve heading in one direction.
Yeah. Ross has clearly forgotten narrative though. That's his issue with that pick.
Dan. Can we have your pick for the biggest flop of the 2023 IPL?
Well, I was considering going for the same low-hanging fruit as Max, with Cameron Green, but you beat me to it, Max. I'm going to go a little bit... When you talk about Cameron Green, we talk about Rohit Sharma. These are big names, right? I'm going for an even bigger name. And I look at flop as underperforming their price tag as well. And I'm going to go for Ben Stokes, who is basically an all-rounder who is no longer an all-rounder because he can't bowl.
That's I think that's a fair call. We're going to actually jump
Yeah.
into a super chat here, and by all means do throw super chats our way from Anurad, who says, "Isn't Ben Stokes a bad buy? We either weaken our batting by dropping Conway or destroy our already putrid death bowling by dropping Pretorius." Dan, why don't you elaborate on that, and we'll answer that as we
It's
go
quite
before my pick.
Quite difficult to elaborate any further, really.
It's very well put, isn't it?
I mean, to be honest with you, there's not really a great deal of statistical evidence that he was a good buy even when he could bowl. So at that price I'm talking about. So now he can't bowl. Yeah, doesn't look promising. And as you say, when you describe the death bowling as putrid, I would go as far as saying it's absent.
I've got a big selection of players now, haven't I? Like, I could pick from anywhere in the IPL. I've got paralysis of choice in a sense here. Two names spring to mind. One is purely Patreon related, and you'd have to be in the Discord chat to know why. But I did think of going Shubman Gill. Like there's the hype is really building there, and I can see an iffy tournament coming up. I'm going to go with probably a safer bet though, and one who I think I know has been voted as a flop before by IPL fans, so I'm going to play that angle. Glenn Maxwell coming back from a broken leg. There's a big ask there, and I think people will unfairly
he's
say
flop as badly as his leg did.
All right, Max.
Brutal.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Glenn Maxwell. I mean, whether it's a flop or not, I don't know if you come back from a broken leg, but I think it could be a tough one for him. Next, we've got last, and so I go first here. We snake back round. This is the low-hanging fruit. I'm going Kolkata Knight Riders to finish in 10th place. I'm sticking with my original prediction. Dan, on to you.
Oh, well, that again is very low-hanging fruit. I'm gonna go with Mumbai because where's their bowling?
Yep, yeah. I think Boucher actually had a quote today. It was like, if you have a look at our bowling, we've got 2 bowlers and some other guys. Basically, it was, I'm paraphrasing slightly.
He's the guy who talks about travelling on the bus with the team, isn't it?
Yeah. Ross, last place in the IPL in 2023.
So what we've had KKR, we've had Mumbai.
Are you taking notes, by the way? Because that is your job.
I was doing that as at the same time of reminding myself on that. So this is quite a challenging one, really, because I was obviously going to say KKR. This is where we're getting to the pudding section, as we called it on our preview shows, didn't we? We said that, there's a big blob of buttercream in the middle of all kind of playoff contenders in that space. I think, do you know what? I'm going to go wild here. They won it last year. I think some of the chickens are going to come home to roost for the Gujarat Titans, and they will not pull out clutch performance after clutch performance, and they will play Kane Williamson much to their detriment and figure out too late they should be dropped. So Gujarat Titans last.
Okay, I like it. Max, you've got a pretty tough choice here.
Punjab Kings.
Yeah,
Easy comedy, and also Liam Livingston.
Yeah, there was news today, wasn't there, that Livy is having a scan. The ECB is sending him for a scan, which is probably not great news. We talked.
Doesn't look good, does it?
Again, if you want to go back to the preview video, I think it's our most watched one, Dan. By the way, the Punjab Kings. Yeah. We talked at length about how he was maybe the most important player in any franchise, and if he doesn't show or he's injured, well, they're in trouble, aren't they? There's
a lot of whataboutery there, right? But they literally have their bowling lineup. I think is probably the strongest actually in the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm happy.
They're defending 120 every week.
I'm happy with my KKR choice, to be perfectly honest. I think I'm in a good spot. Right, we're going to get slightly more positive now. We're going to look at Purple Cap, the best bowler. And Max, it's your choice.
Oh, it's me. Oh, so I was hoping I might go last for this one, so that my choice is sort of narrowed a bit. I'm feeling this year it's going to be a Trent Boult year. T20 specialist now, loves a power play. I reckon Rajasthan will do well. I'm going Trent.
I really quite like that pick, actually, Max.
Okay, I'm not sure I do, but Ross, it's on to you.
So Max accused me of not being a narrative seeker.
Here we go.
Everything has
Don't
to
he?
align. Everything. He takes credit for the wickets that his team gets. So in theory, he always wins. Everything does have to align to the predictions. So you're going to see a bit of a theme as they're kind of going here. But redemption arc is something that we really hold dear on this podcast, especially in the IPL. And it's going to be the left-arm darters playing at the Cheap Hawk. It is Ravi Jadeja who is going to take home the purple cap this year.
That is a real wild card.
Love it.
I'm not buying that at all.
I will give you £5.
You could have had Teek Sharna from the same team, who are like anyway. You know, look.
Hey, he's not playing the first 3 games. Jadeja's going to play every.
Yeah,
he's going to play every game. He's going to bowl at least 3 overs a game. I think and he's playing half his games at the Cheap Hawk.
I reckon Dan can't believe that none of the top names have come off the board, and it's the 3rd pick already here. So
He took 5 wickets last season, Ross.
Yeah, he didn't play. How many games did he play?
I don't know how.
He played about 4 games and then
and
then got disgracefully executed.
He bowled 33 overs, so he must have played at least 9 games. The problem is, as well, with all this, you've got to think who's actually going to qualify, and because then they get 2 games
or 3.
Yeah, I was thinking Rashid Khan, but because I think him performing really well is probably one of the only ways I can see Gujarat doing well. But that unfortunately is conducive on the rest of his teammates as well. I was thinking about wanting to do Hasaranga, but I think he's going to miss a few games, so there's not much point in that. So I'm going to go real wild, actually, and I am going to go with a player who had one of the best strike rates of last season in the IPL, and a team that our Patreons will play for, a team that our Patreons think are going to come first.
Can I guess who you're going to say?
I am
Umran Malik.
What's on?
It's a good call. I think that is a good call. Actually, people in the
He
chat.
wasn't far off last year either.
Couple of people in the chat liked.
He had a couple of massive performances, didn't he? Where he literally just blew a middle order out. It was I really like that pick.
I like it. I like it a lot.
I'm going to be really incredibly safe. I'm going to go with Chahal.
Boring.
Took the open goal.
Yeah, I'm going to take the open goal basically on that one.
We just left Tom Brady there as like the 18th pick.
Yeah, yeah. Just to go back through some answers, because we've been following these in the chat as well. People thought Green and Stokes were good calls for flop, I think. Looking a little bit further down, KKR and actually Gujarat Titans have seen a call for them. And in terms of wickets, a couple of people saying Rabada. Could Rabada do it? I don't know. Maybe if
this is the first week though.
Of course, yeah, because he is away. That might only be one game. If they make the playoffs, he'll get that back. You never know.
Did you have anyone else on your shortlist that you're surprised that hasn't been picked up? Because obviously Narayan is always there or thereabouts because he's obviously KKR's best bowler. Alzari Joseph is getting better and better as a T20 player. Any other guys that you think were in contention?
I think my list was mostly curveballs.
Do we know if like Archer playing 14 games, even for Mumbai, will bowl a shit ton in the 2 periods of the game when loads of wickets fall. So that would, but will he play 14 matches? I think is a big question. Someone like that.
He won't play 16. We know that much.
Bhuvi's not. It's not impossible for Bhuvi, is it? But he's probably slightly declining. Natarajan, wild card.
I had Natarajan as a pick. That was an option.
We had a question.
And Deepak.
The Lord. I'm not buying the Lord, to be honest. There's probably a couple of spinners in there. There's always a spinner that comes through. Saga says, how big a miss is Pant going to be? Are Delhi going to miss his batting or captaincy? I'm just going to do a couple of super chats. Go. Anyone want to take that?
I'll do it if you want.
Go on then.
Well, without him, they struggle to have left-handers in the middle order. They're going to have real problems with the keeping slot because, whoever they pick, whether it's Phil Salters and overseas, messes up the overseas combos, makes it really hard to play Mitch Marsh and Robin Powell in the same team. Also, if you go domestically, then is it Abhishek Parel? Yep. Hasn't really got any kind of batting pedigree really whatsoever at lower levels. Or you go with kind of the occasional keepers, Sarfraz Khan, or as I'm hearing, upskilled another redemption arc for Manish Pandey.
I saw
best
this. What the hell was
best
that about?
PR team going. Best PR. Yeah, this guy can wear gloves. Of course he can. Have you seen him catch? He invented catching, mate.
Maybe they'll go for they'll be the first team to go for a no wicketkeeper approach.
Oh, didn't that happen once? It happened in a blast, I think, once. There was a team that didn't have a wicketkeeper voluntarily. Yeah.
Interesting. And then another one from Rishikesh. Rohit as flop of the season isn't that bold, in my opinion. Most people I know support Mumbai and are feeling that Rohit is doing better will be a bigger surprise. Yeah, well, I mean, what I think is it's unlikely that Rohit will be voted flop of the season, even if he is, because he was close to flop of the season last year.
I don't think I could have him as a flop because I'm not expecting him to do that well.
Ah,
yeah,
people aren't, are they?
But one of the criteria of that is how much you spend on him. And
True,
Rohit Sharma is big money.
He is big money.
Ross, have you got everything noted down before we continue to the next round?
I believe we have. So we've got purple cap was Bolt, Jadeja, Malik, and Chahal.
Great. So we'll go to orange cap next. Now I think there's probably two front runners for this, aren't there? And I'm going to take one of them. King Legend, he'll bounce back. Obviously, it was snatched away from him.
I didn't realise you were going for most boring man on the podcast. Every selection so far has literally been.
You know what Jack's like? He wants to win.
It's like a Tory in a safe seat. This is embarrassing.
He's just got
you be the Lib Dem, Ross. You be the Lib Dem and kick him
I've
out.
done the most basic research, Dan. I'm taking King Legend. He'll be really upset at losing the cap last year, and so I think he'll come back, score a boatload of runs in a team that finishes probably 5th or 6th. And we all wonder why he didn't just put the foot down in a game that they could have got a big net run rate boosted. Dan.
Hold on, if you're going for the easy, low-hanging fruit here, Jack, I want you to give a prediction of how many runs he's going to score at what strike rate.
450 at 138.
450?
That's
not going to get him the orange.
All right,
He needs 600, mate. He needs over 600.
I'm 600. I reckon it'll be a low season for runs.
Yeah, look at
450 ones would only win it if the whole of the season was played at Chaport.
Well, 600 to 650, something like that. Not loads.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
137.
Oh, bold.
Yeah. Your turn.
Okay, I am going with the most hyped domestic player that there is, I think, right now, batting wise.
Muscle.
No, you can't win the purple cap at number 8. Orange cap at number 8, sorry, I should say. I'm going to go for Shubman Gill.
Wow.
He's done it.
I like we've gone Jack, the boring, and Dan, pander to the audience. I like it.
Meme pick.
I like it.
Ross.
I think this is already difficult. I really liked the piece here around the redemption arc. I might continue it with Mayank Agarwal at
bastard.
Sunrisers Hyderabad, because I just can't get away from that piece. However, I'm not going to go him. I'm going to say it's going to be CSK because they're going to have a fucking brilliant year, and it's going to be Gaikwad who brings it home for him.
Okay, Max.
Oh, well, thank you, Ross. I'll go for the redemption arc of Mayank Agarwal. Because that was who I thought you were going to steal him from me. But no, I'm fancying the rebirth. SRH to do it, Agarwal to lead them there. It would be nice, wouldn't it? Be a kick in the teeth.
We've had some shouts for Conway in the chat as well. One for Harry Brook. Conway's
being dropped for Ben Stokes, batter extraordinaire.
quite a few for King Legend. So we're in the ballpark with that. Max, into the final two now. And this is the freestyle round, isn't it? Playoffs. Who are your four teams for the playoffs? Ross, you've got to make loads of notes here. You've got to write down 16
My four teams for the playoffs. I'm going to do this off feeling now because we tried for the SA20 to work out who we thought would do well, and they came bottom. We tried for the Women's Premier League to work out who would win, who would come bottom, who would win. Oh, we got one of them in the finals right, but the other one we got very wrong. So purely off feeling, obviously CSK have to be there because they're back at home and they're my boys. I like Lucknow, so they're getting there. Rajasthan Royals, and it's got to be Sunrisers.
Okay,
it's got to be
a handy four. Ross, on to you.
So what did you say there, Max? I'm just
CSK, LSG, Rajasthan, SRH.
Oh, that's really annoying because they're very same.
You can
You
pick
can
those as well if you
can
like.
You can pick the same if you want.
So there's people in the chat talking about the orange cap, and we didn't mention Sky, and we didn't mention Josh Butler out of both of those. Teams.
Oh
So
yeah, we
both-
didn't mention. Yeah, I thought.
Well,
someone would take
Sky's on
Butler.
the back of like 3 golden ducks, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's
What about
rubbish
Virat?
now.
Yeah, Virat Kohli as well. So those top 3 are literally sitting there watching this podcast right now, going, "These guys don't know what they're talking
I
about."
did write Coley down, if that makes him feel better.
Yeah, but not you put that in the flop section, didn't you, Max?
Go on, Ross. More teams.
So I don't think I think that I don't think LSG will make it. I think it's going to be CSK, Sunrisers, Rajasthan Royals, and RCB.
Okay, Dan, 4 playoff teams from you.
I'm fairly confident on 3. Lucknow, Rajasthan, Sunrisers. The other ones, I mean, it's a head versus heart scenario here. I would have said Punjab, but they've got no Livy for the start, no Rabada for the start. They need to start well, definitely, and that's too big to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go for. I mean, I think they were pretty lucky to get in the playoffs last season and probably the year before as well. I'm going to go for the lucky hat trick RCB.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't mind that. I'm going to go Sunrisers, Delhi Capitals, Rajasthan Royals, and I think, I think Lucknow.
Mm.
Think Lucknow.
So that's a fairly settled 3, isn't there, between us? And,
Yeah. Then there's a bit of a blob. So we'll
which
see.
tends to be how it goes. So
We'll see.
Look forward to getting all those wrong.
Right, final round then. The winner of the 2023 IPL as nominated by each of us. Remember, we can only have one unique choice each year. I am going to go with the Delhi Capitals to finally get over the line. Dan?
Can't believe you left me Rajasthan. I'll take that happily all day long.
Fair enough. Ross?
My pink boys are one with a huge shout this year. But narrative. Dhoni is back at the cheap hawk. He's got the biggest guns going. You got Ben Stokes playing, and regardless of people say he can't bowl, he's still a massive asset to that side potentially. Devon Conway had the highest average last year in the IPL, and Deepak Chahar's back. This is the CSK.
CSK.
I thought I was going to be left to tap in to go for the boys in yellow, but it's been cruelly taken away from me by a last-ditch challenge. So I guess I'll just have to go for Sunrisers.
Sunrisers. Yeah, look, it's fair. We all thought they'd make the playoffs, so it's a reasonable choice.
Yeah.
Right. Do we want to do an MVP or do we want to not do an MVP?
Can we just talk about the winners there just a second? So,
Okay.
and where we think they might fall down.
Yeah.
So, Sunrisers, quite an inexperienced lineup.
I think the lack of a big talisman is potentially, and
they
possibly
got Harry
Aidan
Brook.
Markram as captain. Oh well, an experienced talisman, and then obviously Aidan Markram overseas captain. Is that going to be an issue?
And first timer in as coach as well.
Yeah, Brian Lara might be playing himself by the end of the tournament. Like the way that geezer goes. Yeah, do we want to do MVP or not? But say yes now.
Yes.
Right, Max said yes.
Just because I want to say Sam Curran.
Okay, right. So Max and Sam Curran. Do it really quickly. Ross.
This is rubbish. I've not even thought about this.
No,
this
just
wasn't in
throw a
this wasn't
name
in
out.
the notes.
Yeah, you can't improvise. That's your problem.
Who do I think? So I'm going to also got wickets and this. Who's the best all rounder? And who have we just said is going to win it?
Good grief.
I've taken Sam Curran. So.
He's all cover drives, but he can't reverse sweep. That's Ross.
I'm going to say Mayank Agarwal.
Okay, interesting.
Okay.
Dan?
Well, it's important to cover yourself in this situation. So while I went for Shubman Gill as the top run scorer, I've got to back myself and say that the MVP is going to come from the team that I think is going to win the tournament. So I'm going to go for Josh Butler.
Fair. I'm going to go real wild card. Cam Green's going to bring the heat.
I mean, he's going to do everything, isn't he? He's going to bowl 4 overs and open the batting, probably. So he's got every chance.
Yeah, Cam
every
Green.
chance.
If Cameron Green wins the MVP,
Another tattoo.
we have to do something for all of our Patreons. So, like I don't know, like a meet up in London or something like that. Funded by
Cameron Green.
non-believers of Cameron Green.
Yeah. Right. We're going to hit the button which plays a break, and then when we come back, we're going to start answering some questions. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're live, there's quite a lot of people watching. Do us a favour, hit like, drop us a comment, say hello, let us know how you're doing, and subscribe. Oh, and tell all your friends how good we are. Back in 1 second.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Right, we threw it out and we asked for loads of questions on Twitter and some other platforms. I think we'll probably start with Patrons because they're the best. So to begin part 2, Ross, I think you were the man who collated the Patreon questions.
Yeah, and we got a couple. So this is from Dan and Jay, who I think joined today. So welcome to the Patreon. Now that we all know which teams you think are objectively stronger or weaker at the start of the competition, which matchups between teams are you most looking forward to watching, and what game is going to be a true classic?
That is an interesting question. I think the games like where it could really go off actually don't necessarily involve the best teams. I think best v best is probably Sunrisers v Rajasthan. I think I'm landing on that. Maybe with Delhi in the mix, we'll see how they land. I kind of am interested in what Mumbai will do, like how they will try and win cricket matches, because like it seems like their only route to victory is to just go completely ballistic. Yeah, and like I don't think it will work over a season, but I think they could be in some good games. So it's a bit of a weird answer there. What do you reckon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they're going to try and win inside 12 overs, aren't they? It's literally because they haven't got 8 overs left of bowling. I think we should have a real good ding dong between the two spin teams. So obviously CSK packed full of spinners, and Rajasthan Royals also with some top level elite spinners in that space. I reckon that at the Cheapawk is going to be one hell of a fixture.
Dan?
Okay, so matchups. I'm going. I want to see how Punjab improve against spin compared to last season. And I want to see how teams look to try and exploit the lack of left-handers in Delhi's top 6. And I think that you look at their potential top 6, something like Warner, Shaw, Marsh, Pandey, Sarfraz Khan, Rovman Powell, something like that. It doesn't scream to me to be amazing against spin. And so let's look at those spin matchups against Delhi. As far as the classic match is going, I'm going for the battle of the basement dwellers. Let's see who can pick up the wins between Mumbai and KKR. Max,
is there a game that you've got your eye on?
I'm glad I'm able to go last here. So I'm actually, matchup wise, I'm quite looking forward to seeing Punjab against Mumbai, because it's your team that only has batters against a team that basically only has bowlers at the moment. And we're going to see which one comes out on top. So that's nice. But also I think, I don't know, I've just got, for some reason, Mumbai against SRH at the Wankhede could be fun. And sort of because what you're saying about blasting the ball around. Could be an interesting game.
It's quite interesting you say that bit backs around kind of the team with bowlers, the team with batters. Lucknow have got wicket keepers and all rounders.
Yes. If we could get a 3-team try tournament between those three, that'd be great.
Well, the guys with nets catching
screw the IPL. Let's just do that.
For me, Lucknow are the most interesting team, I actually think, in terms of what their approach is trying to be, etc. Them versus Rajasthan Royals, who are also going with a kind of a 5-6 split rather than a Wales. I think that's quite interesting.
Yeah, it's the 5-6 split versus the 11 people who do everything.
Yeah,
maybe they're going to have an impact keeper.
An impact keeper.
That could happen. I noticed that my pick, SRH v Rajasthan Royals, is on Sunday, and it's probably a good time to say when we'll be doing shows. We'll be doing episodes on Wednesday, on Friday, so we'll be back with you on Friday after the first match. Tune in, it'll be live. Sunday evening, and then Wednesday again, and then Friday again, and then Sunday evening, apart from the time we go to Lisbon, and then there will be no podcast. Okay.
There might be a very
we might
drunk
do a
short,
live
if I'm
drunk
perfectly
thing,
honest.
like Ross and I did after Lords one day. That was a good laugh.
Or we could do it like, do you remember Football Italia, the show with James Richardson, where it would be like in a cafe in the Mediterranean? We could do that, but like about the
Cricket
the IPL.
Lisboa.
Yeah, Cricket Lisboa. Yeah,
We
it
should
would
do
be.
that.
Maybe we'll see, but then we are away for one weekend. But that's another reason to subscribe. There, Ross. What was the other question?
What, to pay for our holidays?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Square root of 3. Guys, I don't know if you feel this way, but I'm actually burnt out by cricket. It's been pretty continuous since the World Cup, and I'm just burnt out by cricket, even though it's been pretty good overall. How does one keep the enthusiasm up for the upcoming season of the IPL?
I think the best person to answer this is going to be Dan, because he has to do it all the time. My answer is pretty simple. I'm quite choosy about what I tune in to watch hardcore.
Yeah.
Like I'll pay attention to a lot of stuff, watch some highlights here and there. I'm not watching England v Bangladesh in an ODI series. I'm not watching a single ball of that live. I'm going to do my life.
You can tell from our coverage.
Yeah,
of that series.
I'll get really into the Border Gavaskar Trophy. I'll get really into the IPL. PSL, if it's a close finish, I might turn it on. If it's the playoffs, might turn it on. But you can't physically watch it all, I think. Dan, I do want to know from you though.
Pretty similar in terms of bilaterals. I'm just really not bothered about. There's a few series I want to watch, but on the whole, I'm pretty nonplussed about it all. League wise, I'll watch a lot. Primarily because it's a part of my job. I've got to watch.
It's got to be the eye test, isn't it, as well as the number test?
Well, yeah, sometimes. And look, I'll watch like PSL. I'll watch BBL. CPL is a bit of a pain time wise, in terms of time zones and
1
stuff.
in the morning and stuff. Yeah.
A lot of SA20. I watched a little bit of the Emirates, but wasn't massively impressed. So yeah, I'll watch a good chunk. I'll watch a lot of Blast games on stream and stuff like that as well. So it can be quite a lot of games that I watch, particularly over like, sort of the English summer. First of all, though, after the person who asked the question, I actually had to Google what the square root of 3 was, and did you know it's 1.73?
I didn't know that. But,
I don't know what the name is, but yeah, Mr. 1.73. As far as the enthusiasm for the IPL goes, I mean, one, I absolutely love it, and two, like now, my appetite is fully whetted regarding the impact player and how these teams are going to be adopting that strategy as well. So can't wait for it.
I'm really
Shock horror. They're going to absolutely balls it up, aren't they?
I wouldn't put it past them.
I mean, the IPO is a different pace as well. It just feels a bit more exciting than some of the other leagues. I think it's an atmosphere.
Even though it's really slow, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like no, but in a way, every ball's an event, even though that it takes a minute and a half to get to every ball. I wish
every ball's sponsored.
Every ball is sponsored.
Swami. The other thing you look forward to as well.
Yeah.
What version of the Safari we've got this year?
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Absolutely, Dan. Absolutely.
Was it Tartar Punch last year, wasn't it, or something? It was,
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I've recently just bought one actually.
Swami in the chat says amateurs. Swami's one of our patrons who has like double screen, like office type worker stuff, and I've seen him with 9 matches on the screens, which is insane.
Heroic.
Like he'll watch all of the county championship games at once.
So there's a TV show called Elementary, which is the kind of American version of Sherlock, and there's an episode of that where Johnny Lee Miller is sitting there, and he's got like 12 individual TV screens that he's watching that individually. So that is what I picture Swami doing. So
yeah. It's a bit like
me playing online poker. I was a bit like that.
Right. Max, do you want to take a question from Twitter?
Sure. So the first one we've got. So I think this might be one for Dan to start with. And if you want more info, then go back to the lovely show we did about impact subs. But could the impact sub role have a positive impact on role clarity for batters? More specialist batters maybe getting a chance in the lower order, perhaps?
Well, I think that's definitely a possible impact of the impact sub, if that makes sense. And I think that we talk about how teams might balls up the impact sub, but you could also look at players who do that as well. I mean, is it necessary for King Legend to chew up a load of balls at the start of his innings if they've got an impact they're batting first, and they've picked a team with 8 batters, for example, and then they're going to use the impact sub as a bowler. So yeah, it works 2 ways. I think one in terms of the strategy, who you're going to use in that role, but also, yeah, which players can adapt to it and understand the implications of it, as opposed to kind of playing their own game, really.
And I should say thank you to Random Cricket Stats for that question.
Yeah, that would have been nice. We had a super chat that follows up on that on a similar line, so I'll throw this out there. Due to the super sub rule, will there be less demand for all-round talent? I also missed the memo telling everyone Gill was a phenomenal T20 prospect. Well, he got 100 against England, didn't he? And got a double 100 in another game, and he's young.
Then we said he wasn't cut out for T20 cricket. He scored another 100 the day after. We know
but I think that is an interesting question. On all-rounders, because if one of the value of the all-rounder is that it balances your team. It means you don't have to do a 6-5 split. You can do effectively a 7-5 split or a 7-6 split even. Without that, would you not be better off just playing a guy who bats slightly better than the guy who can turn his arm over and bowl a bit of left arm off spin? Anyone?
I very much thought that's a potential risk. I think what it possibly also does is increase the demand for overseas all-round talent, provided they keep the rule, obviously, that the impact sub has to be domestic. And that does, I suppose, get around some of the issue of there being a slightly more limited pool of, particularly with the pace bowlers, pace bowling all-rounders. So it is a really interesting thing. I mean, it's just basically the flip side, isn't it? But I do think it is a potential concern, and also might allow people to carry on playing a bit later into their career than they might otherwise. You can just you can bat first, play Dhoni, who's 52, and then swap him out halfway through.
Yeah, you could do that. Dan, what do you? Ross or anyone?
View on that? Yeah, it is. I think that there's always going to be room for one, genuine quality all-rounders, or just a quality genuine all-rounders, but there's not many genuine all-rounders. You're thinking guys like Sam Curran or Jadeja, but players who I think would kind of warrant or be close to warranting a place with either discipline. I also think there's going to be always a place for batters who are in, say, the top 5 batters who bowl, match-up spin, for example. And I also think that there's going to be plenty of scope for bowlers, frontline bowlers who can hit. What I do think is going to be the knock-on effect of the impact sub is that these kind of bits and pieces players, they're the ones that are going to really take the hit. I'm talking about number 7s who perhaps like face 8 balls on average per match and bowl like 1 or 2 overs. I don't know. Or you talk about someone like Ben Cutting or Carlos Brathwaite type bowls that are they're not really frontline bowlers. They don't bat in the top 6, luxury players kind of thing. Like those are the players that I think might really struggle with it. And I also got a prediction as well. I predict that after this season, if they carry on with the impact rule, you'll be able to have a impact sub who's from overseas, so you can swap an overseas out for another overseas and still have 4 on the pitch.
I think this might happen. And there's a question here from Shubham who says, what's the quality of the cricket going to be like considering the new rules? I think you've got to factor that in, because there's going to be basically 80 Indian domestic players now instead of 70, which is a fairly big increase. I don't know, what's that, a 15% increase in the number of players? Plus, there's loads and loads of injuries in the tournament this year. I mean, I think the quality will be... I think the best teams in the PSL are now better than the best teams in the IPL. Or very close to, and I don't think you could have said that.
All our subscribers. Well done.
I don't think you could have said that to. I don't think you could have said that to this year, and I don't know if it's a long-term trend as well. Like, there's a lot of injuries this year affecting the IPL.
Arguably, those 10 extra players, they don't. Do they have to have the quality of one of those core 70 to be able to keep the level the same? Because they arguably only have to focus on one thing, right?
They do, and that I think that's a fair point, and it means you might be able to get rid of Krishnappa Gautam or something like that, and bring in somebody who might at least hit a 6. But there's a reason that those players weren't in the team for their 6 hitting ability in the first place. Yeah, it's because they're pretty bad. It's quite a marginal gain, I think, or it could. In fact, no, I'd probably stay with that. It's a fairly marginal gain Be able to swap out your number 7 for if it's Krishnappa Gautam for a guy who strikes at maybe 5 or 10 more. Like over the course of a season, Dan, you might have modelled this, but I would be surprised if the impact sub rule is going to net you more than 25 runs. Like it's
over so 2.5 a game. No, not even 2.5 game. Less than 2 a game.
I reckon it would be less than that. And that's if you use it well. And I don't know if we've got expectation for that. Like it's so I look. I don't know. I do think though that the like what would you rather see? And this is another way of putting it. Would you rather see the next 10 best Indian domestic players, or would you rather see like Rovman Powell coming off the bench? Like it's
that's what I would
I want Rovman Powell in the first team to begin with, but like if we can't have that, we have a compromise here. That's what.
We have seen IPL, the BCCI change rules, haven't we? Right, just before tournaments happen, all that kind of stuff. So maybe with all the injuries, maybe they're going. Do you know what? This is the time to do it. We do have another question from Swami Jack, staying on the Patreon piece. It's quite an interesting question actually. So, is there a real advantage or disadvantage for RCB playing all their home games in the first half of the tournament and then Mumbai doing the reverse?
I don't know.
I would say that it's not an advantage to either team. Reason being because the team who are at home for the first half of the tournament are under immense pressure to really pick up probably 5 or 6 wins from those home matches. And if they start poorly, I mean, that's tough. Yeah. But then the team who's away could easily be like 1-6 or 2-5 from their 7 games. And I mean, like, it's like turning around an oil tanker by that stage, isn't it? So, I think just a balance is better.
Yeah.
Is there a reason they're doing that? Is there like some kind of someone in the chat might know? Is there like a local election there and then a local election there? I know there's sometimes restrictions around wide games are in certain places, or is it just a travel thing? Because it does, in a normal sports league, you wouldn't do that. Right. Do you want me to ask a question from the What's It? Twitter. By the way, we're on Twitter at the Cricket Pod if you want to get involved. Santosh says, and we're really doing the rules. This is a rules pod. If anyone wants to ask us any cricket about, ask us any questions about the actual cricketers playing or the teams, feel free. Or we can just keep talking about Super Sub.
There's a good one from the Dawdler, so I've got.
Okay,
come to me next.
Okay. Santosh says, will the 2 new rules end up in international cricket? Paraphrasing a little bit. And should Arjun Tendulkar play for the sake of it? Max, you like Tendulkar, don't you? You're a Tendulkar.
Yeah, he's going to play. Mumbai will be out of it with 4 games to go, and he's going to get to play.
Everybody I know who has seen him play says he's rubbish. I just cannot.
I mean, I'm sure he is. He's going to play though. This is the year.
Match.
This is the year of Arjun Tendulkar.
Have you got a first-class century? No, you don't.
If he doesn't play this year, he's not ever going to play.
Well, I think that is what I think should be. Does anyone think?
Look, you've got to make the most of the ultimate piece of nepotism there could ever have been, right?
Yeah, look, he's made his 10 lakh a year, hasn't he? So take that to the bank.
And to be fair, the percentages are in your favour, aren't they? You're going to take something out of the testicles of Sachin and give it a chance. I think that's fair.
Yeah. On that note, actually, Max, we need to talk about ball shavers.
We do.
This show is sponsored by Manscaped. You can get 20% off and free shipping using the code CricketPod at manscaped.com. We've got some new copy in mind, and I'm gonna. It's quite hard to read this with a straight face. I'm sure that it's written this way, but I'm gonna give it my best shot. Calling all men. That's written in capitals, so maybe I should have been more. Calling all men. Like, it's time to mind your manholes with Manscaped. Everyone's aware by now that those nose hairs are a major turn-off. That's why Manscaped upgraded their brand new Weed Whacker 2.0. With improved blades and motor, you can feel the power of nasty nose hair annihilation in the palm of your hands. This improved Weed Whacker can now be found in the Performance Package 4.0 for no additional cost. Save money and attack your nose and ear hairs by going to Manscaped and using the code CricketPod to get 20% off and free shipping. What I've got a problem with, manholes. And then later on, in the other copy that we get, our friends over at Manscaped are helping you enjoy spring's fresh air by using the Weed Whacker on all your face hole hair. We love the Weed Whacker 1.0, but this is an absolute upgrade. Facehole. Have anyone ever used the word facehole to describe?
Only to refer to a mouth,
Have
which
you not got-
doesn't
have you
generally
not got
have
hairy
hair
mouth?
growing out of it. No.
Anyway, look,
Yeah.
it's all seriousness, Manscaped stuff, it is top quality. We have been given the full package. I can give it the thumbs up. A reminder, manscaped.com, use the code CricketPod for 20% off and free shipping. Ross, you had a question.
Yeah, I did. It is, I think, quite a nice little question from the Dawdler from YouTube. What does Sunrisers starting 11 look like on Sunday? Because they are Sons South Africans.
Hmm.
Ooh.
And this is quite interesting. Why you guys get the team up and figure out what this is going to be? So it's quite interesting, right? Because the South Africans aren't there because they need to beat the Netherlands to qualify for the next World Cup.
Although
So
apparently the weather forecast isn't great.
which will be so they would then go into the qualifiers. And yeah, it limits what's happening. The Kiwis have obviously got games against Sri Lanka, but they've said, do you know what? Go and play in the IPL. Sri Lanka, on the other hand, are making sure that they've got their best team as well, so they can qualify. So it's quite interesting on that front at the moment. So where do we think, gents? So we've got what? Markram's out, Klaasen's out, Marco Janssen's out. So
I'll throw a team out if you want me to.
yeah, go on.
Mayank Agarwal,
Mm-hmm.
Rahul Tripathi, Abhishek Sharma, Harry Brook, Glenn Phillips. Then it gets tricky though. Then it
Yeah,
gets,
but you've got your wicket keeper sorted in Glenn Phillips, I'm assuming.
yeah. Then Washington Sundar, Abdul Samad.
Your boy, you love Samad.
I do. Either Adil Rashid or Akil Hussain. Probably I would lean towards Akil Hussain, probably the West Indian connection with head coach Lara, and probably a bit better batter.
I was on the Akil Hussain front. So Erica Morris put something out on Twitter earlier with loads of charts about IPL. You want to find her, and she said that Akil Hussain's got the highest dot ball percentage, and actually goes under the radar a little bit.
He's very good. I like him a lot. Yeah. Bhuvneshwar Kumar, Fazal Haq Faruqi, Umran Malik.
Right, so 11.
Yeah,
Pretty good 11 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not bad.
I quite like Akil. I feel like a little bit of game time for him here and there will work pretty well for them, won't it? Max, do you want to throw a question out there? We'll do 3 or 4 more.
Absolutely. So back to Twitter. Okay, how about this one then? So from Vivek, how big of an impact do we think the return of home and away is going to be? Obviously, we like to bring up the chip hawk as an example. So that's always one to start with. And do we also think that having the home and away is going to allow a team that's maybe not set up that well to get away with it if their home ground suits them?
Easily happen with. Yeah, I mean that's a classic example, isn't it?
I home and away, right? I think it's very difficult to say because it's ages since the last home and away season, and we don't know, for example. So there's people say, don't they, that the CSK team was built with the Chepok in mind, and that it will all come together. And the team we saw last year, which looked old and tired and basically
Have a new lease of life.
Basically a bit rubbish.
They've put Ajinkya Rahane in there.
Yeah, but at the Chepok, they'll be like the perfect team. They'll be spin all over the place. No team will be able to get 130 against them, and so they'll win 8 games. Now that could happen. Maybe some of the teams will wise up to it a little bit, though. I don't know. It's so long since it happened. Like when it last happened, home and away, Sunrisers Hyderabad being like, yeah, 150 is a good score and we'll just like bowl really good and that's how you win cricket, was like prevailing wisdom in the tournament. And now I think we're a couple of iterations beyond that in terms of tactics and how teams use players, and hopefully that means that home and away will actually be less significant than it was back then. I mean, like I'm on record, particularly around Test matches, that I think home advantage is too significant in cricket. I think in a league like the IPL, there should be independent, curators. Basically, there should be people from the league stopping teams from going full Chepauk. That doesn't really seem to happen. But maybe the teams have learned enough, or maybe global T20 cricket has learned enough rather to put us in a position where home and away won't be too important. I'd actually go as far, thinking back to 2019, so that last home and away season. I reckon in 2019, half the teams wouldn't have even had an analyst. Or if they did, it would be like a guy who played videotapes. Like it wouldn't be an actual analyst. And now I think almost all of them.
That's probably still the case now.
Okay, in that case, home and away is going to be really important.
Don't overestimate.
Maybe home and away will be really important then. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know. What I'm really looking forward to is the crowds. To be honest, I feel like the atmosphere there.
Look at the practice games, right? They're literally like 20,000, 30,000 tickets to go to literally watch practice.
It's a really long time since we've had a cricket league that has, packed houses, passionate football style crowds. It's had a little bit in the PSL. We've had like World Cup games where it's certainly been the case, but a full season, I'm really looking forward to that.
Just hope for one thing: do not give out free vuvuzelas, please. It's the worst thing about watching any sport.
Ross, going to give you a question now from Chakaday 97. How much do you think the IPL will improve if Pakistani players are allowed in?
Oh yeah, again, thanks for the grenade. I think if you look at some of the quality players in the Pakistan lineup, not including Babar Azam, if you look at like Shaheen Afridi, Shadab Khan, Harris Ralph, I think they would add real quality to the teams. If you look at the moment with the injury crisis that's gone on, like if they just went, you know what, bring the Pakistani guys in, let's make sure that we can have a high quality tournament. That would definitely up the quality. That's
Seems unlikely while they're wrangling over where games are played in the Asia Cup, though, doesn't it?
I'm not saying it's going to happen, Max, but I'm saying that
nice.
I'm saying that they are, unfortunately, because of politics playing in the sporting arena, it is of a lower quality product than what they've got, and the discrimination that is happening because of it is really quite upsetting.
It's a very diplomatic answer. I like that. Something a little bit more lighthearted for you, Dan. Will Virat Kohli have a 120 plus tournament strike rate from ML Matthew Lee?
I was actually pretty close to making him my orange cap selection.
You could do that with a 120 strike rate.
Yeah, it doesn't mean he has to do it above 120 though.
No. I think he's going to have a better season than the doubters, i.e. you three, will anticipate. I'm going 600 runs at a strike rate of over 130. Pretty good one.
That's fair. I don't like being called a Kohli doubter. I think I'm fully on board the Kohli train.
Will he get a tattoo if he's top run scorer?
Will I get a tattoo of what? Of Virat Kohli?
There is no Kohli doing his
no, you and I do. You just have to get two numbers. You'd get 18 tattooed somewhere on your body if he finishes.
No. What I will do, though, is if Kohli overtakes Tendulkar for most international centuries, I'll get Kohli 100 tattooed on me somewhere. How about that?
Oh, good. Okay, we'll take that. Dan, you said you got a question?
I have. And I'll throw this over to the listeners as well as you guys. We've spoken about who's going to win. We've spoken about who's going to come last. We've spoken about the orange cap. We've spoken about the purple cap, but we've missed out predictions on the most important thing. Who is going to do the first mancad of the IPL?
Oh. Well, I'll tell you who it won't be. It isn't going to be Ashwin because surely there's not a player in the league dumb enough.
People have got their eyes.
There will be.
I think.
Who's got a bit of edge, man? So what characteristics are you looking for here? What criteria? I think spinner is a good.
I think it has
criteria.
to be a spinner. I think it probably has to be a spinner who bowls at the death when players will be looking for that extra inch. as well.
On the right?
Or potentially...
Narine, yeah.
No, I
Narine.
don't feel like it's Narine because the
Yeah,
ball's
no,
hitting
no,
behind
no.
his arse. Yeah.
You know, and you also have to remember that Narine doesn't do anything that's not more than 1 square metre away from him. So actually...
Or I think a player who bowls in the power play when batters are trying to pinch quick singles. So Teak Sharner, I think, would be my potential shout for this.
Yeah,
Well, do you think Ashwin would try one?
Yeah, Ashwin would definitely try one. I reckon Ashwin will get one in the season. I reckon that will happen. He won't be the first. I reckon he will get one though.
Yeah,
obviously it can't be
I think
Josh
the
Buttler
issue
on
with
the same team.
Jadeja arguably is that he'd have to be bowling over the wicket for it to be particularly serviceable. So he'd have to be bowling to a left-hander, which is probably not likely.
That is a good point. We didn't think about that. But like Ross did say, he was going to take like a bazillion wickets this year, so there's probably going to be no restrictions.
True.
Of when he
I
bowls.
don't think the man count counts though, does it? Towards your total.
That should count towards
that
that should count towards your wicket. Though it should be a run out. That should be a bowler's wicket.
Right. How long have we got? Let me just double check the clock. We've probably got
I think
time.
Dan needs to check out of his hotel.
We've got time for
1 minute.
one more question. Max, is there one that sprung to mind from you? Because I've got a couple up here that I could go to.
No, you can go.
Okay, Gurjot Singh says, would you rather fight 100 duck-sized Dhonis or one Dhoni-sized, built with his current physique, duck? So do you want to fight a stacked duck? Or
it's got to be 100 duck-sized Dhonis.
Even with the muscles, they'd all be like climbing on top of each other to make a king-sized Dhoni, though. I think like a Dhoni transformer. Ross, you?
I'm taking on the duck. I'm going big. I'm going big duck.
Okay, and Dan.
I'm not quick enough to deal with 100 small ducks, so I'll go for the big duck as well.
Maybe with like the new AI sensation that's going on right now, maybe there could be a simulator around doing that. Who knows?
Well, I could barely walk last week, let alone deal with 100 ducks around my feet.
You couldn't even bloody sit on a fucking chair, mate.
Right, guys.
There's a
professional.
There is a good question in the chat around reviewing no balls and wides. That is actually quite interesting. So that's happening. I think it's an awful idea. Absolutely terrible. The games take enough time as it fucking is. Let alone some bloke figuring out how he can make sure that the rules work for the team he supports.
It does count against their normal, reviews though, right? They don't get extra reviews for it, so hopefully it won't take too much.
Some of the white calls are dreadful. I'm fully in favour of actually for this, but the problem is that with that and the impact sub, each game's about 6 hours long.
Yeah, you're taking all the grey out of the game, and in the grey areas is where the great stuff happens. Is my view, and yeah, not everything is black and white.
Yeah, we are going to lose Pravan Amre storming the field, which is sad.
Right,
he's actually banned from any cricket stadium now.
We've done an hour long, which is a long show. Our shows are going to be about an hour long moving forward, but we used to do for like 3 hours. Unfortunately, alas, no longer. A final reminder though: Wednesdays. So that's today. So that Wednesday show is technically sort of done, isn't it? Next show will be Friday. Next show will be Sunday, and then rolling like that for the rest of the IPL. What you need to do if you're listening is click subscribe. Tell all your friends, get them on the bandwagon. IPL is going to be absolutely cracking. Or, if you're watching on the YouTube, click subscribe and, do the same thing. Share it around on Twitter. Someone go on Reddit and share this on Reddit. We don't get enough Reddit love, do we? I read it.
Yeah, we need more Reddit love.
Yeah, I read Reddit. Nobody's ever talking about us. It's always some show called The Great Cricketer that I've never heard of. Anyway.
Yeah. Or pontificating around why some certain podcasts have ended.
Yes. Anyway, thanks very much for listening. It's been an absolute joy. Ross, Max, Dan, have a good one. Hope you check out your hotel okay, Dan. And I'm going to go put my feet up. Joy. The last day of no cricket before cricket tsunami. Cheerio.